What is going on, baseball fans, and welcome back to the show. This is Orioles Today, and as always, I am Sean Ferguson. Hey, and the O's, they have been winning games lately, and you could be a winner by getting in on the action with Kalshi, today's sponsor, where you can trade on real-world outcomes, including on your Baltimore Orioles when they play later this afternoon. Just use code FANARCHBASEBALL and get $10 when you trade $10. Big thanks to Kalshi for sponsoring the show. And we've got a packed episode for you guys, as always, breaking down the latest news, diving into the numbers, and hitting all the biggest storylines surrounding your Orioles. So if you guys enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor and high-five that like button. And if you live and breathe Orioles baseball, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you never miss a daily update. And again, I'm going to break down the 3-game series of the Orioles on the road at the Angels on tomorrow's episode. I'm going to break down all 3 games. Again, I'm not breaking down the games last couple, just with the game starting off so late over there on the West Coast. But on tomorrow's episode, I'm going to start getting back to normal now that they're finishing up this 9-game West Coast road trip today, and finally coming back to the East Coast, getting back on a more normal time zone here on the East Coast. We'll start breaking those games down back to normal. But for today's episode, we're going to talk about the Orioles at the halfway point of the season. Believe it or not, we are there, guys. 81 games in, 81 games to go. It has gone by in a blink of an eye, if you're asking me. And I would say because you had just not so great, hey, hope, not so great, hey, hope. It's been such a roller coaster ride of a season for the Orioles. But if you're like me, you love this team. And no matter what, you're staying with them through thick and thin, even when they're not playing the greatest baseball. And it can be really frustrating at times, like a time right now where they are playing better baseball and looking a lot better on this 9-game West Coast road trip after dropping 2 out of 3 on the road in Seattle. They give you that hope again. And you're always going to just continue to cheer them on and just hope for the best. So, yeah, we're at the halfway point, and no, it's not exactly how we thought it was going to be to this point in the season. Again, they started off rocky, kind of cold. Some of the bigger stars like Pete Alonso, who we'll talk about here in a moment, not having the best start to the season. A lot of people questioning Craig Albertaz and Mike Elias and just everything. Just the hitters don't look that patient at the plate. The fundamentals don't look great. Just the basics aren't there. The starting pitching is abysmal. The injuries, just so much happen. But you slowly but surely started to see guys come back from injury. You slowly but surely started to see big-time bats like Pete Alonso come into their own. Blaze Alexander and Jeremiah Jackson and Taylor Ward just very consistent. And again, you can say what you will about Craig Albertaz, and there is times where he said things, you're like, okay, but hey, this is a positive show. Today's episode is a positive episode. I know I've gotten some flack for not having a lot of positive segments. This is a positive show. So what I'll say about Craig Albertaz and what I really like about him is you can tell with yes, there are moments where he does say things sometimes where you're like, hey, defend your player a little bit more. But there's a lot of times where he was talking about, and again, we'll talk about this more on tomorrow's episode, but when he talked about asking, hey, who wants to play third today? And talking about how Colton Cowser was pooping in his pants. Just funny, goofy things like that. You can tell that the team really likes him. And again, with everything that is said I know certain things I've criticized about him, mainly being his lineups and playing certain guys, like you need to play certain guys more like a Jeremiah Jackson. But when it comes to the guys liking him and appreciating him, it does seem to be there. And it does seem that they've taken to him really well. And he's in his first year, not only with the Orioles, but in his first year as a manager in the big leagues. So you got to cut him some slack. And again, with the season not starting off the way that everyone figured it would, and with all of the injuries taking place the way that they have, you got to cut him some slack. The team is really starting to play much better baseball. There is still some things they need to clean up, but I really think they will. So through the first half of the season, Craig Albertaz is doing the absolute best that he can. It could be way worse. So the fact that you do have veteran leadership on this team that is helping out with this younger talent, and you have the young manager in Albernas really keeping everything together, I think you're going to see in the second half of the season, I think you're going to see way more consistent baseball and a lot more winning baseball. I really, really believe that. So the record not justifying right now what I think or how I believe the second half of the season is going to go. I figured we have a winning record by this point, of course, at the halfway point of the season, but I think the second half we will have a winning record both the next 81 games and overall. I really do. I think this slow start is going to help fuel them for the second half of the season. And one of the big reasons why I believe the Orioles have been so good lately is Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, yes, everyone was criticizing him early on because, he has this massive contract that the Orioles signed him to from the New York Mets in the offseason, and he just had one of the slowest starts of his career. And many were, here's the Chris Davis comparisons. I never bought into the Chris Davis comparisons. I said no matter how rough the start of the season is for him, there is no comparison to Chris Davis. He will come around, and he has really started to come around. And I've said this a few times on this channel. The O's didn't have a single bat hit over 17 home runs last year. He has 18 already. And yeah, and a lot of my friends, New York friends, saying, hey, don't worry, he's going to get you at least 35. And he's at 18 right now, and he's building. You can see that Gunnar Henderson had a bigger lead on him earlier in the season, and then Alonso's really coming to his own now. He way more patient at the plate. He's not trying to kill it over the fence every single at bat. He's really taking what he gets. And again, way more patient, and you're seeing that. He's waiting. You could tell in his at bats, like when the home run pitch is there and he's ready for it, you got it. But situational hitting is definitely there with him right now. He's got his batting average was sub 200 for quite a bit, but he's got his batting average now up to a 249. He's got those 18 home runs to go with 53 RBIs, leading the team both home runs and RBIs. And that's over 301 at-bats, 75 total hits, and with those 53 RBIs, he has 49 runs scored and 13 doubles too. So again, they're not just going over the wall, and he's pretty much on pace right now strikeout-wise. He is striking out quite a bit, 81 strikeouts so far this season, but this team has struck out quite a bit in the first half of the season. But he's been just electric as of late, and I think that's a big reason of why the Orioles have started to turn this around. You see just how passionate he is about the game and how much his team feeds off of that. So you continue to get this guy going, it's only going to help the team as a whole. He also, with that 249 batting average, has a 335. I make that a 335 on base with a 472 slugging percentage. So really like to see that his numbers are starting to get up there, and you can just see it in his play. He's aggressive with everything. He doesn't take not a single play off. Every at bat offensively, every at bat defensively, he stays hungry. And again, this team really feeds off of that. So the fact that he's playing so well right now is another reason why I believe this team is going to stride in the second half of the season. They had a slow start, high expectations, a lot of pressure on the first-year manager, but this team is going to turn it around. I truly, truly do believe that. And I believe Pete Alonso is a massive reason. Great stretch he's on right now, and I think that's going to continue. And that's another reason, which we'll get into another time, that I do believe here very soon the Orioles will be buyers and not sellers at the trade deadline, only coming in at 2 games out of a wild card playoff spot right now, and that's only going to gain steam here very, very soon. And I do want to talk about Taylor Ward being yet another positive here in the first half of the season for the Orioles. But before I get into that, guys, baseball season is here, and now you can trade every single game on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. And seriously, you can trade on just about anything on Kalshi. Sports, news, entertainment, weather. If people are talking about it, there's probably a market for it. But most importantly, you can trade on baseball, which is what really matters around here. Right now, the Orioles are trading at 30% to make the postseason, meaning a $100 trade pays out $289 if they do. And the O's are also trading at 47% to beat the Angels this afternoon, meaning a $100 trade pays out $197 if they win. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade $10. That is KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. So looking back at the first half of this season, again, just looking at just some of the really good positives for this team here in the first half of the season as they really start to play and have been playing some really good baseball over the last month. You see them just way more consistent. Bats are a lot better. The arms are a lot better, both starting and relief. And it gets you in a really good feeling as an Orioles fan. I'm really happy. I believe Albernaz is rounding the corner here in his first year as the Orioles manager, which is tough because you know how I feel about Mike Elias, but I think he's getting there. He's learning a lot here in his first season with the Orioles and in his first season as a big league manager, and coming into this year with so many high expectations and some big-time talent that's starting off slow, so that puts a lot of pressure on him as well, and I think he's really starting to come into his own. Pete Alonso is a massive reason why the Orioles looking way better ending the first half of the season and entering the second half of the season. And another big reason is Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward, he's a guy that I wasn't confused about when the Orioles traded for him, but if you go back and watch previous episodes, you'll see I was a little taken back just because we knew coming into the season that starting pitching was going to be a weakness of the Orioles, and they traded away Grayson Rodriguez. Yes, he didn't pitch at all in 2025. I understand that, but we expect him to come back from injury. The Orioles did need a power bat. That's why they made the trade. And yeah, definitely look like winners in that one. Grayson Rodriguez has not played a ton at all this season. He missed a good chunk of the regular season due to injury. Finally was able to pitch. Was looking a little bit better before he hit the IL once again, but ERA well over 8. And Taylor Ward has been super, super consistent for the O's this season and definitely looks like a win. Yes, it's a one-year rental, so you can say, hey, we're not going to judge this trade just yet because Rodriguez still has years of control that the Angels now have, and you're only going to get most likely Taylor Ward for 1 year. He's not going to re-sign with you guys. But if the Orioles really continue this turnaround and are able to really push themselves to get to that playoff spot and get a playoff spot by the end of the year, then I still think the trade was worth it, and it's a win for the O's, just looking just where the Angels are right now and the continuous injuries that Rodriguez has had this year and just how consistent Taylor Ward has been this year. He was coming off a career year with the Angels last season, and he's been pretty spectacular this season for the Orioles. He has not hit the home run ball very effectively early. He is getting there a little bit more as of late, but he's been one of the most consistent bats all season for the Orioles. 295 at-bats. He's got 76 hits, giving him a 258 batting average. Again, only the 5 home runs, but he's got 22 RBIs and 51 runs scored. Primarily the leadoff hitter for the Orioles, and he's up there in doubles. He's up there in walks drawn, just up there in the top 5 in a lot of categories. And he's been an on-base machine for the Orioles, posting a 393 on-base percentage with a 366 slugging. He's also got a 759 OPS. And yeah, they flip-flop kind of Ward and Henderson quite a bit early on when it came to that leadoff spot, but Ward has really locked it down. And, man, he has flourished as a leadoff hitter, just getting on base by any means. And, yeah, he's drawing a lot of walks. He's hitting a lot of doubles. And now he's starting to hit home runs. Now he's up to 5 on the year. A lot of people expecting him to hit more. But at this point, the way I look at it is if he's getting on base, I'll take it. If he's getting on base for the next guy, he doesn't have to hit it over the wall every single time. And especially when you're putting him in that leadoff role, let him get on base. I don't need him to hit it over the wall every single time. Just continue to draw walks, singles, whatever it might be. Whatever he is doing, it is working. It is working. And now that you're seeing these other bats like a Pete Alonso and a Rutschman when he's healthy and a Basayo that have really good bats, and Blaze Alexander is really coming around, which we talked about on yesterday's episode. It's starting to get to a point of it's not just one or two guys that are there and have been doing it all year long. Now you're getting the others that are starting to finally pick it up, like a Pete Alonso, and now they're all playing good at the same time, and that's why this stretch of baseball has been so good for the Orioles. But again, looking at the positives of the first half of the season so far, Pete Alonso definitely been one of them, just with his leadership and just his passion, and this team really feeding off of that. And Taylor Ward, his absolute consistency throughout the first half of the season. Again, say what you want about his home run ball, I don't care. The guy gets on base, and that's what you want from your leadoff hitter. So Taylor Ward, another one, a big-time positive for the Orioles in the first half of this season. And finishing off today's episode, looking at just the positives from the first half of this season for your Orioles, it's been 3 starting pitchers. And yes, it started off rocky, but Kyle Bradish really seems like he's coming into his own as the ace of this organization once again. I know we're going to talk about this Angel series as a whole in tomorrow's episode, but man, he's coming off yet another stellar 8-inning shutout performance in his last start, and he just looks spectacular. Really pitching just phenomenal right now. And again, he's looking like the ace that we knew he could be when he's healthy. Just dealt with a lot of injuries, but he's up now. Started off really rough, but he's now up to a 5-7 record overall, and that ERA now down to a 3.64 in 89 innings pitched. Now 94 strikeouts and a 1.44 WHIP, and back-to-back games now where he's pitched at least 7 innings, and he was just absolutely terrific on that 9-game West Coast road trip. He just had the Mariners and Knots, and had the Angels and Knots as well. And there was talk coming into the year like, okay, how long is it going to take for him to really come into his own, recovering from surgery? And yeah, it took a bit. But if you look at these positives coming out of the first half, heading into the second half, he is one of them. Absolutely. Taylor Ward's been absolutely consistent with the bat. Pete Alonso's bat is really coming around along with his leadership. And Kyle Bradish is really coming around as the ace of this organization. Once again, it looked to be Trevor Rogers with the freak year he had last year, but it's Bradish's. It's his role to have. He's looking just absolutely terrific right now. And again, he's shaken off the cold start like a few others. Another one being Shane Baz. Shane Baz had a lot of pressure on him because he was involved in that big trade the Orioles made in the offseason with the Rays to acquire him, giving up a lot of prospects, and then they signed him to a big-time extension. And it's like, okay, what has he proven? And he, along with Kyle Bradish, are really pitching very well. Not as well as Bradish, but again, Bradish is in that role of ace, and Baz is looking like a guy who could be a 2 or a 3. He's up to a 4-7 record ERA. His is now down to a 4.04. He's almost out of the 4s. And that's also in 89 innings. He's got 76 strikeouts with a 1.36 WHIP. And control for him was something that he struggled with earlier in the year, a lot of walks. But again, he's someone now that is getting deeper into games. And that was a big issue for the rotation as a whole for the Orioles. They were giving the ball to the bullpen way too early. But Bradish, he's going 6 to 8 innings, it feels like, no matter what. And Baz is getting there now, 6 to 7 innings. And I've talked about for a while, there's 3 guys in that rotation. It's like the 3-man team. It's Bradish, it's Baz, and it's Brandon Young. Those 3 guys, when they're pitching right now, I feel like they can win easily. And with the way that this team offensively is right now, you feel like they can really support any pitcher out there. But it feels like Bradish, Baz, and Young, I know I'll put that in the graphic, it sounds like a law firm. It feels like when those guys are out there that the bats are going to help give them an early lead, and they're only going to give up a couple, if anything, before they give it to the bullpen. And it just feels, you feel way more confident when they're out there. And Brandon Young, what a great story he has been. Did not make the team out of spring training, went to AAA, and got his opportunity because of all of the injuries. Zach Eflin, and now Chris Bassett, Trevor Rogers dealt with injury. And wow, wow, he has been the most consistent starting pitcher the Orioles have had this season. He's sitting at a 6-2 record with a 3.07 ERA over 67 and a thirds innings. That's also in 12 starts. That's amazing. 49 Ks with a 1.26 whip. And it was him and Cade Povich. Those two guys got a lot of starts and a lot of opportunities early on in the year because of injury. And Young came up, had a really good start. They sent him down. And I said, I want to see him get more opportunities. And he has. And oh my goodness gracious. I was not expecting it after last year. But it finally feels like some of these younger pitching prospects the Orioles have are starting to get it. You know, feeling a little more confident with Cade Povich, but he's dealing with injury. But Brandon Young is having himself a year. And you feel confident going forward with a Kyle Bradish as your ace, and then Shane Baz and Brandon Young flip-flopping between 2 and 3. You really like what you have right there. And you hope one day that Trey Gibson can get there. But if you're looking at consistent, really good baseball, it's those three right now with Bradish, Baz, and Young. And the way that they finished off the first half of the season and are coming into the second half, it's another just phenomenal positive for this team and gives you just great hope of what this team is going to be able to do in the second half of the season. But guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. And if you were a fan of today's episode, do me a favor and high-five that like button. And if you're a fan of this content, subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. I will see you guys on the very next episode. This is Orioles Today. I am Sean Ferguson, and let's go O's.